Welcome, Peter. Welcome to Marketing Unlocked. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you for the invite. Delighted to be here and join in.
Yeah, no problem. I think I want to start by saying we've known each other for quite a few years now, and we've probably got like an interesting connection. I don't know if you want to just explain like actually how we know each other.
Yeah, so I'd like to say many years ago, but it probably wasn't that many years. You know, all of the pandemic stuff and all that kind of stuff has elongated time. I feel in something that was a couple of years ago ends up being 5, 6, 7 years ago. But the way we connected originally was I was mentoring at level 6 for a marketing apprenticeship, and you sorry, level 6 and level 4. And you started in level 4, and you were clearly more competent than a level 4 apprenticeship. So we bumped you up to level 6. And fortunately, I was tutoring both at the time and took you through that. And glad to say that you passed with flying colours and you are where you are today. So that connection goes back a fair few years. But all I'm going to say to finish that is that everything that you achieve in your career is kind of down to me.
Great. We'll end the podcast there. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, the bit where I say any bonuses or 10% of anything you earn comes into me. We'll leave that out, and you can cut that bit out. But yeah, that's how we know each other.
Yeah, you definitely get royalties on everything for life now. But
yeah,
I didn't expect to get praise on when you first started talking. But yeah, like I said, we'll just cut the podcast there because that's great.
Yeah, you job done. Yeah.
I'd love to know, and I'd love for our audience to know as well, what is it that you actually do to get paid today?
Yeah. So it's completely different, really. And at the moment, I run a marketing agency that focuses on construction, specifically construction technology. The reason behind that is my background's 90% within construction and 100% within marketing, and we're coming to kind of a crunch point, and there's a lot of challenges within construction, and technology is the way that's going to get us out of these challenges and really help. The issue being that it's quite a slow to pick up the new tech industry, so there's going to be a step change at some point in the future where next generation comes through, and they are going to demand these kind of technologies to just function and do their work. So I believe that these organizations that focus on building great tech for construction and in construction need or desperately need marketing assistance and help. So that's what I do, and that's what we deliver.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like an easy challenge by any means. I used to work in the construction industry, as you know, and like work in the tech industry now, and the difference between the ways of working and just the marketing and just how people communicate is so different. Like it almost felt like stepping into construction was like, everyone used to describe it as like a backwards industry almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't really say that as an agency trying to gain clients within the industry that everyone's backwards. But yeah, it's very different, and it's more about the educational piece and people understanding the tech, and companies that I've worked with and for previously. There was one interesting quote that I fundamentally remember, and I won't go into what tech they do, but they said that, can you use a phone to take a photo? Yes. Well, you can use this technology. And it's usually the perception of tech, and that barrier and hurdle that people need to get over to start using it. And then their lives become easier.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it comes back to marketing, like you say, and perception. The word tech can sound quite scary to some, but actually, it's just speaking to people, straight talking, like, how am I actually going to get value out of this?
And if you think about our daily lives as well, 99 minus my dad, so 99.9% of the world will use new technology and use it very well without even realizing it. So you get in a car, there's sat nav installed in it. You come home and you use smart TVs and stuff like that, and it's just happened naturally because it started to be ingrained in our society. And that's what isn't happening in construction just yet. It's not commonplace. certain tech anyway, but we use this throughout our daily lives and we don't even know that it's been integrated into what we do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm going to take a percentage off for my dad as well there, because
Okay.
not sure he not sure he's
Yeah.
integrated into tech at all.
99.8 then.
Yeah, perfect. I'd love to know, and I can. Well, I think you've kind of covered some, but what's the biggest misconception or myth that you often encounter in your role?
Yeah, I mean, where do you start? As you well know, I think going back to how we met, I think half my tutoring was saying this is a load of rubbish. Don't don't focus on that. Focus on these truths. One thing that I've come to learn is that if you want to know the myths from the marketing magic, one place you need to go is the Ehrenberg Bass Institute. And what they've done over recent years is they've brought science into marketing. And what they've done is have long studies over a period of time that focus on various different categories, that don't just focus on one or two organizations. We're talking lots of organizations being involved in this. And they put the science to the marketing that proves a lot of things that we thought were true to be pretty false. But the things that stick out for me are the obvious, that marketing isn't just about communication. That's the biggest one. And when I was tutoring, one thing that I used to say is, give me 3 words that you associate with marketing. And the first 2 out of most people's mouths were advertising, communication. So I would say that is the biggest myth. The second one for me, which I used to preach and now I just don't, because it's completely false in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, is that you do not need the detailed personas that people say you do. You do not need to know that Joan still drives their Rover and she likes listening to classical music while she's tootling along in town. You just don't. You just don't need it. It's an absolute waste of time, because we're all individuals. We're all different. We're all human. So those two, marketing is more than comms, and you don't need detailed personas, are the 2 myths that I would say need completely debunking from marketing. Personas are great. Target markets are better. And having that more generalist overview of personas is a lot better. So you do need to segment the market, absolutely, and that in itself creates targets and target markets. But you don't need the detailed personas.
I completely agree with you. And to go back to your other myth about the 3 words, communication, and advertising, being like the most common 2, I want to throw that back to you and ask, like, what would your 3 words be?
Excellent. Yeah, I should have really thought about that, shouldn't I? Don't open your mouth until you've got all the answers. There's yeah, that's the right thing. Okay, so yeah, my 3 words: strategy. Oh, you've got me there. So yeah, I'm gonna duck out of this, and I'm gonna go strategy, and strategy, because that's the thing that we're missing, right? That's the bit that we're all missing within marketing. Or no, that's a lie. Most people are missing within marketing. That strategic intent and that focus from a top level before we even get into any of the comms or anything like that. So yeah, I'm gonna duck out of that one and say the same word 3 times.
I just want to know if I would have said to you in one of those workshops the same word 3 times, would you have let me off?
Oh, well, okay, right. So I just said, all right, why? Give me a reason for it, because you're going to have to explain it. And hopefully I've explained it enough to be let off the hook.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And it's one of the things that I think in an outsider perspective as well, the people who don't actually work in marketing, they don't recognize the strategy element of it. I think it's that for me, I used to hate can you pretty this up for me? Or can you like the company name and ties this? And it's just like, that's a little part of the marketing world, but that's not what we do. We don't just sit here and order pens and water bottles and make things look pretty. But yeah, definitely a really good point about the strategy, for sure.
So and if you think about your career, or when you've been working, regardless of what industry. When has anyone ever come into your office or spoken to you and said, what's your strategy for this year? You know, I can't even remember a single time that somebody's come up to me and said that from a different department. I mean, whereas they're much more likely to come in and go, here's an idea for you. Can you just do this? And it's like, well, hang on, you wouldn't just go into finance and say, can you just do this for me? You know, that they've got various markers, various points, various things they need to hit. It's all structured, it's all formulaic, etc., etc. But within marketing, because the output and the end product is very visual, that's the piece that people have got an opinion about without knowing everything that's in the background, which is just a bit crazy, really. I mean, that hugely depends, doesn't it? You know, how much are you going to spend? Well, what do you want to achieve? You know, well, we want to be the biggest in our category. Well, I'm going to spend a bucket load. What do you want to achieve? Well, we want 3 extra clients. Budget's not going to need to be that big, really. So it's hugely dependent, and that goes back to strategy, doesn't it? You know, how much are you going to spend? Well, our strategy is this, our objectives are that. To achieve those goals, we're going to need this. And straight away, you started to put more formula, more structure towards, you know, what we'll end up colouring in, you know.
Yeah, which takes me on to a point that I'm very passionate about. In terms of marketing professionals and marketing departments reporting into sales, the whole rhetoric of that, like especially if we're saying marketing is for strategy and our budgets depend on what we're going to achieve, a sales leader is gonna say, I need this many leads in because I need to hit this much revenue or this much, in the bank sort of thing. Whereas that's not the actual strategy of the business. That's just like self-serving their department, which of course revenue is important. We need money in, it pays all of our salaries. But like there's more to a business strategy than obviously just getting those leads in. So I just don't understand the push from people, the LinkedIn gurus, the people who've never worked in marketing, saying that marketing professionals should report into sales.
So an ex boss of mine once said to me, he said, if you really want to come back at that statement to anyone in sales and kind of wind them up a little bit, you just say that sales is just the end product from good marketing, which is kind of true, because if you get your marketing right, then there's 2 things within marketing, yeah, that we all know: is sales activation and brand building. One's long term brand, one short term sales, right? And marketing should focus on both. If you can get that promotional part right, which is your sales activation, then the sales part of it is much easier, far easier, which means you're not reliant on so much from a sales team, although that's massively important in B2B because we all still buy from people. But half the job is still done. While you're doing that, you build the brand long term. And as we all know, if a brand becomes more well known and it's trusted and liked, those sales become a lot easier. So reporting into sales is a bit counterintuitive. Every company has clients or has customers, right? And if you went to all your clients and all your customers and said, who would you like to be in charge of how we are portrayed, how we're seen, how you're targeted? Would you prefer it to be a salesman or would you prefer it to be a marketer? I'm pretty sure most of them would say marketer. They've got our interests or best interests at heart. Whereas sales, that can be harsh. It can be, it's pounds, shillings, and pence. Yes, there's building relationships and things like that, but I think that marketing, it needs to be the lead because of those 2 things, because of the short term and the long term. And if you do those 2 things right, particularly in the industry that I work in, there's a lot of change within sales teams, a hell of a lot of change. If you're good at sales, you're going to take your clients with you if you move to a organization which is a competitor. So why would you want to rely on that and keeping that person? Or you can look to build your brand and focus on your marketing short term as well to bring in sales, so people have more of affinity with your company than they do with that actual person that's selling them some goods.
I feel like I'm learning a lot right now. I should be getting my notepad out and writing this down. But
You've done that.
I
You know all
completely
this.
no, I completely agree with you, and I think there's a lot of companies out there that I see that just totally ignore the brand element, and don't invest in that, and it's just like, why?
Yeah,
What are you
and
doing?
they're always on the back foot then. Always on the back foot. You'll always be chasing that tail, chasing that next sale, very short term. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you need that brand building as well, because yes, it's long term. And by long term, I'm not talking about 6 months, I'm talking about years and years and years to build it, dependent on the market and competition and things like that. But if you don't do that, then you're going to be forever chasing that next sale short term.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know, especially the early days in your career, what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
It's a hard one, because in building up an agency, which I've only done for the past 6 to 12 months, say, there's been a lot of reflection and a lot of thinking about those particular things. And if I was to rewind, I would say to my youngest self, have a plan. Don't get detracted. Don't think short term. Think longer term in terms of your career and what you want to achieve at the end of it, and have that as your main focus. So, for example, if you wanted to end up working for, I don't know, let's say it's in front of me. So I'm going to say a pub chain or a brewer, and be the CMO of a brewing company, then don't jump at the first role that comes along that isn't in that category. Or you get some experience, foundational knowledge within marketing, and then you transition as soon as you can into that industry and just focus solely on that industry, because that's your end goal. So that's, if I could speak to my younger self, I'd say that, and I'd also say never choose the prawns as well. It never ends well.
Yeah, totally good advice, and I think it's really solid. I think the one thing I'd say is not everyone knows what industry they want to end up in. Like
Mm.
I certainly didn't know, and still don't know if I'm going to be in tech for forever. But yeah, I think the important thing for me is like the decision criteria I'd use is like I want to work somewhere where marketing reports into the CEO, where they care about brand and various other things. But in terms of industry, yeah, I'm who knows, who knows.
Yeah, and that means that some organizations won't be right for you, because that isn't
Mm,
what happens. But you've made that decision, and you've got that focus that you want to report into the right type of people. So industry or organization isn't as important as having that relationship and responsibility that you'd get in your current position and positions later on in your career, hopefully.
yeah. Well, I feel like I'm getting some free career advice here as well. So,
Sorry
um,
about
no, don't worry. What is a? I'm sure you've seen this. I mean, I definitely get overloaded with, like I say, with the LinkedIn gurus. But what's a marketing buzzword or like industry jargon that you just feel is overused, or you just simply can't stand it every time you see it?
Again, take your pick, because I think we could go on forever. And I think within marketing, particularly within construction, it's all about simplification. Don't complex things. Just say it as it is. So the buzzwords that do my head in is when people say we are different. Now, this comes from a guy that owns an agency called buildDifferent, which kind of shoot myself in my foot there. But the other one that does my head in is when people say we are the X of Y. Going back a couple of years, it used to be we are the Uber of XYZ industry, and it was just ridiculous, hanging on to a company that was disruptive and changed an industry, and saying that you are that in this industry. You can't be, because if you were, you wouldn't be the Uber of this. You'd be your own entity. So that's what does my head in when people say they are the something of something else, because you're probably not if you have to say that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good point, and I've never really thought of that. But yeah, if you're having to say you're like the Uber, it probably means you're not like Uber.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are, why do you want to be the Uber? Can't you just be you? And well, you're not going to be the Uber because you're probably not going to be in that industry, so you won't be that. It's an odd one.
Yeah, very, very odd, very odd. And then just about marketing campaigns, we've spoken quite a lot, especially when I was first on your level 4 and level 6 like courses. We spoke about marketing campaigns and ones that have gone really well, ones that haven't done so well. If you could think of one marketing campaign from any point that you wish you'd been a part of, what would it have been?
I mean, there's loads throughout the year. If you think back, you've got the iconic ones, going way, way, way back. The diamonds are forever. I think that was it. Or a diamond is forever, or something like that. Um, that is almost the pinnacle of great advertising, coming up with that. And I've read stories of how that came about, and the lady that actually created that, and it was almost at the last minute, late night. That sounds good, and the rest is history. But the one that sticks out for me, and I've spoken about it when I'm tutoring, or just in general, because it's just so damn good. It's better than I think anyone ever gives it credit for, and that's the Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry. It had everything. It ticks all the boxes, and people that are listening straight away, they'll be thinking of the advert. And again, that kind of proves our point of everyone will have an opinion on the advert and the output and the creative rather than all the other parts. But it was on brand, it was on message, it was consistent, it lasted a long time, it was global, but it was regional as well. So they used famous people within America and Japan and across the continent and in the UK within their different adverts. But they went a lot further as well. So they did things like, for their PPC, they worked with Google to work out something like the top 300 misspelt words. And then they put their budget on PPC towards those misspelt words. So when you had a misspelling, the first ad that came up was for Snickers, where it said, "You're not you when you're hungry, you've misspelt something." And I think even that PPC ad was misspelt as well. And there's loads of little other bits which I'm missing there, that they did, and it was so integrated and so well thought out and put together. It was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I didn't know about the PPC thing, but that is like I love stuff like that. Like when marketers is just super creative and just do things that you wouldn't expect. Like most people would probably see that and just be like, "Oh, that's funny." Whereas I would see that and be like, "Oh my God, that is so genius. Who came up with this?" But yeah, I love that.
Absolutely, and that's the cool thing, that on the face of it, it's doing a positive. It's doing what it should do. It's communicating with the right audience, and it's talking to the right people. But we've got this flaw in us as marketers, that we see it differently. We see the bit behind it that a lot of people don't, which is a flaw, because from an entertainment value, we're always thinking, I wonder why they've done that. I wonder if that's somewhere else. I wonder if that's if I go in store, is that a point of sale that Snickers use? Where else have they used that? Rather than just enjoy it for what it is, a piece of creative. But yeah, there's always so much more to a really good marketing campaign than that advert that people see and comment on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Um, so from your point of view, and I guess whether it's your industry or not, what do you think people should be focused on right now to stay ahead of their competition?
I mean, it's going to be AI, right? That's the correct answer. But I don't mean that in a fluffy, it's going to steal all our jobs, it's going to revolutionize the industry, we're going to be completely different in 6, 12, 18 months. I mean that from the point of view of when Google came along, you should really focus on Google, because that is changing how people actually find things and search for things and learn things. And I think it's going to be a similar thing here, in that right now, I think AI is quite raw, and the way people are perceiving it is that as soon as you say AI, they go straight for, well, if I ask it a question, it needs to be 100% accurate, and it needs to have all the facts, and it should be referenced correctly, and it should be very eloquent, and all that. And they're expecting an absolute miracle. Where if you look back at how Google started, loads of people were using some really, really bad practices to get high up on Google because you could outsmart it, and now you can't. And I think that's the thing that will happen with AI. It's working with it. So artificial intelligence plus human intelligence working together will have so many efficiencies in so many ways. There'll be negatives towards it, absolutely. People will use it for bad rather than good. It'll happen. It happens everywhere. But I think I don't want to be too airy-fairy about it, because there's a lot of people that do that, and I think that's a lot of BS, to be honest. But as a tool and as something we need to know about, I think the efficiencies it can have and help with are going to be astronomical, and how it can help us do the same things we do now but better will be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been using ChatGPT. I think we use it quite regularly at MEDDICC, and it's so helpful in terms of we don't it's not replaced anyone's job or anything like that. It's not replaced full complete tasks, but with things that we spend a lot of time on, it is ultimately saving us time. But I do have this thing. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it to people in the team. I think it came up once, but I don't know from your perspective, but whenever I talk to ChatGPT, I'm very friendly to it. Like it's an actual person and it has feelings. I have to say, like, hello, please do this. I can't just be like, here's a task. I have to. It's talking back to me, so I feel like it's my friend.
Yeah, you can get too hung up on that and go down that. The way I see it is that it's a blank piece of paper, and you're going to instruct it to do things, and that's how I see it. And I would never advise that anyone uses ChatGPT or any of the others out there, because there are more and more every single day, in isolation, and take it for granted whatever it's spewing out is correct and accurate. Do your own research. I'm not a very good writer, so it fundamentally helps me get off the ground 100%, even if it's just little short statements or snippets. And usually I cut out probably 40-50% of it and then change some other wordings around it. But it gives me a great start. But I'm the opposite. I'm not that friendly with it.
I don't know how you can't be friendly to it. It's helping you. You have to. Do you at least say thank you, or do you just like close the tab once it's done the job?
Oh no, that's it. It gives me what I need, and I'm out. Yeah, a bit like Amazon, really. I never say thank you to Amazon for coming the next day or the same day. Sometimes it just happens. And the same thing with ChatGPT. I think it helps if you start with you are a. That's how I always start with ChatGPT. So you are a marketer, you are a researcher, and give it a role, and then it's almost working for me. We're not friends, far from it. Never will be. But yeah, give it a roll.
When it messages me one day and it says like, I really don't want to work for Peter anymore because he doesn't say thank you, I'll know why.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm waiting for that return. Yeah. You're to act as this. Your job is this. Yeah. Give me the answer, and it'll just go no.
There was something I really wanted to get your perspective on. And again, I keep bashing LinkedIn gurus and I do feel bad, but
never feel bad. Never feel bad about that. They're all in pods, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of talk about generalist marketers, or I say a lack of talk about generalist marketers in terms of what are they, why do they exist, why do we need them? And people favouring like this specialist route, and I have nothing against people in specialised roles. That we obviously need them, but I also think there is a place, very much a place, in the marketing world for generalist marketers. So I'd definitely love to get your perspective on what to you what a generalist marketer is, and your perspective of, do we need them, or do you agree with the LinkedIn gurus?
Yeah, it'd be a bit awkward if I did, wouldn't it? Um, yeah, absolutely. So a generalist marketer is a marketer that simply focuses on the full marketing remit, and understands it right through from diagnosis to strategy to tactics, and then the analytics, and it's kind of a ever revolving cycle, if you like. And we need these quite simply. Let me ask you a question. You'll answer it straight off the bat, so it's absolutely fine. No pressure. But if you were sick or ill or had an issue, who would you want to go and see?
A GP.
Yeah, a GP, a general practitioner, right? A doctor. Now, they say you had something wrong with your arm. You're not going to an arm specialist. You had something wrong with your leg. You're not going to a leg specialist first and foremost. You need a referral for that. You're going to go and see a doctor to get diagnosed initially to say, yeah, I can't do this. You're going to need a specialist. I know what the problem is. We need to fix it, but you're going to need an expert in that field. And that's probably the best analogy that I can give in terms of what a generalist marketer is. So if you need that specialist, coming back to marketing, it might be that an organization, we need PPC in this, and we need to work on the customer journey for this perspective, and PPC is part of that. And a generalist marketer can see that and see the overview and understand that. Whereas you'd never expect somebody that's dedicated their time to understanding how Google Ads works, or, well, let's say Bing as well. Get them in there for the 4 people that are listening that actually use Bing, and the 5 million that are listening that use Google. But let's cater for everyone, shall we? As a generalist marketer, you understand how important that PPC is in the grand scheme of things, but that specialist, that PPC specialist, can deliver on that. And as a generalist marketer, you probably can't, and you need that specialist. The same way that a doctor needs a specialist to look at your leg or your arm and really understand the best way to fix it. And that is probably the best analogy. Hopefully it makes sense. But that's probably the best analogy I can give you in terms of why they're important and what they actually are and do.
Yeah, no, I actually thought that was a really great analogy. So I'm definitely going to be stealing that going forwards. But no, you're so right, and we have it on our team. We've got like a media team in house, and we have video editors and graphic designers, and a social media manager and that sort of stuff. And it's like, I as the generalist marketer can help set the strategy and do all of that and say, okay, we need the video editor, we need the graphic designer, but I'm never going to go into the video and edit it myself because that's not my speciality. So I guess the same works with like PPC and paid ads and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, absolutely right. I just see this like lack of love for generalist marketers everywhere, and it makes me really sad, to be quite honest with you.
It's nuts, really, because if you think as a videographer, a graphic designer, digital ad specialist, web developer, whatever, why would you want the hassle of understanding all the other bits if you just want to focus on your specific expertise? And say you're working with a web designer, then how are you going to get traffic to that website? You need some way of doing that. So, right, okay, do we speak to somebody that's SEO specialist, right? So you've got a specialist there, but how do we know what people are searching for? Well, you go to the SEO specialist. What's the competition, though? So if we've got SEO, but the competition's rife and they've put a lot of money into PPC, then all that SEO isn't going to be as effective as using PPC as well. Short term, build your brand, sales activation. So all these parts, and it starts to get more complex. Well, what about the customer journey? Where do they start? What are their problems? What are our solutions? And we could go on forever, couldn't we? But that's where a generalist marketer sits, finding all these bits, putting them all together, and understanding from a bigger picture. So these specialists can actually do their job, specialize in what they're doing, and deliver on that. But all we're seeing, or other people are seeing, should I say, is that end result, that end product. They're seeing that ad on Google and thinking, we need PPC, we need that specialist that does that, and not understanding the rest of it, that just isn't They didn't just turn up one day and decide, right, PPC's for us, we're going to make millions off it. That's probably part of a marketing plan or marketing strategy, and it's one part of it that works well.
Yeah, and for me, it is a key role. It just as much as a paid ad specialist is, or a videographer, or whatever. That's a key role, just like the generalist marketer is. You need somebody to be able. Like, I've never had a situation, and it's not to do with the competence of these people at all, but I've never had a situation where I've not had to brief these people on the work that's required. So it's not like they go out and do it, and they like, obviously they can come to you with recommendations, and they bring their craft to it, and their best practice to what they do, but they need that generalist marketer to say, this is the brief, this is what we're trying to achieve, these are the goals, like, and then they go away and make that happen. Without that person in role, what do they do? Who do they get that information from? Where do they go? Like, I don't understand how that would even work.
If they are getting their information from somewhere and they are doing the briefing and doing the research and stuff like that, that detracts away from what you've employed them to do. So it's a bit counterintuitive. You're employing somebody to do, I don't know why we've stuck with PPC, but let's go with it. You're employing somebody to do PPC, and they're spending 50% of their time doing research to understand certain things that you haven't employed them to do, which is a bit counterintuitive, really, an absolute waste of time, everyone's time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so like, last question for you, because I've taken up a lot of your time today, but I really do appreciate it. Can you share a significant moment or experience in your life that's had a profound impact on who you are today?
I mean, there isn't one profound moment. It's all little moments, maybe of enlightenment or something that's happened that's led to bigger things. And like, I'm starting to come round to, whether by force or by nature, come around to the opinion that everything happens for a reason. And you get a lot of people that say manifestation and things like that is important, and you think it and you say it'll happen. I understand the principles of that, and I kind of buy into it a little bit, but I'm far too much of a skeptic to think that's 100% true. Although my wife thinks differently, and says I'm far too negative. But there you go. So there isn't one profound thing, but there's been lots of little things. Like when I was working for an organization, the MD came in one day and he just said, "I've got an idea for you." And I know this completely goes against what we've just said, but I've got an idea for you. Rubber ducks. And I went, "Yeah, I've got it. I'm on it." And that completely changed where we were going to go for the next 6 months in terms of our marketing and our communications. And that kind of really worked very successfully. So that's one that really, really sticks out. Two others that have kind of led me to where I am today. Again, not really profound. They've just sort of happened. And I decided to kind of quit my job and start doing other things for myself about a year and a half before I did. So for anyone that's still listening, I'd never advocate just going, "I'm going to quit my job and rule the world." And then the next day you've got absolutely nothing. Think about it, have a plan, and make sure you've got a backstop before you actually do it. There's time. And there was me and a marketing manager, and we had to pitch for a new website. So I did what any good marketer would do. I looked at the analytics for the current site, worked out what was working, what wasn't, what we needed to change, what we didn't. And I only had 10 minutes to present it. So I went down the analytical route and told them all this. The other marketer went down the creative route and said, "Oh, we need to design it like this," all this kind of stuff. And they said, "There's flaws with the current website because you click this and it doesn't work." And I had to explain to her that it was an actual drop down, and if you clicked it, it did actually work. And then when I asked, "Well, what would you do about this part of the market to target that?" They said, "Oh, we can add a button to the homepage." And they went with her and not me. So that kind of highlighted the fact that if you want to get stuff done, you kind of need to be in control of your own destiny. And you want to only work with people that are going to listen to you. So that made my mind up that I kind of wanted to work for myself. And the final one, straw that broke the camel's back. I hate meetings. I can't stand them because most of them are a load of BS and most of them are an email, to be fair. And I find that a lot of meetings are made to fluff people's feathers and to show their importance, etc., etc. Just have an agenda, get on with it, get out, crack on. And I was in this meeting and I didn't really need to be there. I noticed that straight away. And they spoke for about 15 minutes. They got everything done. And someone looked at the watch and said, right, we've got another 45 minutes. So what should you cover for that? And it's like, that isn't how things should be run. It should be, right, we're sorted, we've got 45 minutes, let's crack on with it. And it wasn't. They just wanted to do things for 45 minutes because that was scheduled meeting for an hour. And it was only 15 minutes. So, yeah, there's no real significant moment that was like, I've got to do this. But there are little bits, and there's many more of them, and I won't go on, but there's many more of them that have kind of led me to where I am today.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really great conversation.
No, absolute pleasure.